Everyone in the neighborhood thought they knew Marcus, but what they didn't know was that he had prepared for something no one else could see coming. On a quiet evening, while most houses glowed with warm lights and laughter, Marcus's home stood surrounded by silence, until the sound of digging shattered it. Members of the HOA, fueled by resentment and hidden prejudice, were secretly carving a deep trench around his property. They thought they could scare him, isolate him, and break his spirit. But Marcus was no ordinary man. He had been through battles far greater than neighborhood politics. With each shovel of dirt, the HOA believed they were sending a message. What they didn't know was that Marcus had already installed hidden cameras. Every corner of his property watched silently, recording their every move. The night they chose to intimidate him was the night they unknowingly handed Marcus the proof he needed to turn the tables forever. The next morning, Marcus walked outside as if nothing had happened. The trench was clear, visible, and intimidating, like a moat cutting him off from his neighbors. People peeked through curtains, whispering, afraid to say anything. The HOA members smirked, expecting Marcus to panic, to call for help, maybe even leave. But instead, he calmly stood at the edge, scanning the trench with quiet defiance. Inside his house, his computer screen flickered with live footage, clear angles of every person who had been digging. Their faces, their laughter, their plans, all captured. Marcus didn't confront them yet. He knew timing was everything. Let them believe he was powerless. Let them think their cruel plan had worked. Because when the truth came out, it wouldn't just expose their hatred, it would expose their hypocrisy to the entire community. Marcus decided to wait, knowing that patience would transform his evidence into the ultimate weapon. As days passed, the trench became the talk of the neighborhood. Some whispered in pity, others in fear, but none dared to challenge the HOA. Children were told not to step near Marcus's home, and neighbors avoided eye contact. It was isolation by design, and the HOA relished in it. But Marcus carried himself with quiet strength. Inside, he replayed the videos, close-ups of the HOA president ordering the digging, board members joking about, teaching him a lesson. Every frame was a nail in their coffin. Late at night, Marcus added time stamps, organized files, and created backups. He knew once he released the footage, there would be no turning back. The HOA's arrogance had blinded them, and Marcus's silence only fueled their confidence. What they mistook as defeat was, in truth, the calm before a storm they never imagined coming. The HOA escalated. They sent Marcus letters claiming his home was a safety hazard because of the trench, letters they themselves caused. They warned of fines, even eviction, pretending to be protectors of the neighborhood. But Marcus kept his composure, filing each letter, saving every detail. At night, the trench became a symbol, their hatred in plain sight, their cruelty carved into the earth. Yet, Marcus never once let fear show on his face. Instead, he worked in silence, editing his footage into a flawless timeline. Every smirk, every command, every cruel word was preserved. The longer the HOA played their game, the stronger Marcus's case grew. Soon, the very trap they built to corner him would become the very evidence that cornered them. Weeks later, the HOA gathered for another meeting, confident in their control. They spoke openly, boasting about how Marcus had, finally been put in his place. But what none of them knew was that Marcus was sitting in his living room, uploading their secrets to multiple secure drives. He had every angle, every guilty hand holding a shovel, every mocking laugh. That night, Marcus tested his plan. He shared a small clip anonymously with a trusted neighbor, the trench being dug under cover of darkness. Shock spread quickly. Whispers grew louder. Neighbors who had once been silent began questioning, wondering why their so-called leaders would do something so cruel. The HOA had wanted silence, but Marcus had just planted the first seed of doubt. The neighborhood's mood shifted. Some people avoided the HOA altogether, others whispered support for Marcus, but no one dared to speak publicly, yet. The HOA grew nervous as rumors spread, but they still underestimated Marcus. They had no idea how deep his evidence went. Finally, Marcus prepared his grand move. He scheduled a local community meeting, claiming he had something important to share. The HOA laughed when they heard, believing it was desperation. But when Marcus walked in, holding a simple flash drive, the room fell silent. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't argue, he simply plugged it in. The projector flickered to life, and one by one, their faces appeared on screen, shovels in hand, laughter in the dark. Digging the trench meant to humiliate him. Gasps filled the room. The truth was undeniable. In that moment, the HOA's power crumbled. Neighbors turned, angered not just by the cruelty but by the betrayal of trust. The same leaders who had claimed to protect the community were exposed as the ones tearing it apart. Marcus stood tall, not in vengeance, but in quiet dignity. He hadn't raised his voice once, the footage spoke louder than words. By the end of the night, calls for resignations echoed through the hall, and the HOA's reign of fear collapsed under the weight of their own actions. As Marcus walked home, the trench still surrounded his house, but now, it wasn't a symbol of isolation. It was proof of his resilience, his patience, and his unshakable strength. And as the cameras continued to record silently, Marcus knew one thing for certain: the neighborhood would never see him the same way again.